For the past few days, fans have been buzzing about the idea of Ilia Topuria facing off against Islam Makhachev next. Now, people are already getting fired up just to see Ilia jump to lightweight for this super fight. And yeah, on paper it sounds amazing. Just thinking about these two going at it is enough to get anyone hyped. But let's be real, it doesn't make that much sense right now. Now, don't get me wrong, I get it. Topuria just knocked out two of the best featherweights of all time in Alex Volkanovski and Max Holloway, which is still insane to say in 2024. He's looking unstoppable, and I get why the fans want to see him take on a bigger challenge. But here's the thing, Topuria has only defended his title once, and he just won it earlier this year. His reign as a featherweight is just getting started, so the idea of him jumping up to lightweight already is a bit rushed. To really make his mark, he should defend the belt a few more times, maybe 3 or 4, before we even start talking about him moving up to face Islam, or whoever's holding the lightweight title then. Plus, there are still good fights for Topuria at the featherweight division. Sure, they might not be as exciting as a showdown with Islam, but he hasn't completely run through the competition. As I mentioned earlier, he only had one title defense, but there are still solid matchups like Aljamain Sterling, Movsar Evloev, and even Diego Lopez. All of these opponents would be exciting to watch and would help solidify Topuria's run at 145. These three opponents make the matchup with Topuria particularly interesting because they're strong grapplers. People are quick to say that Topuria would win automatically because of his strong grappling background. He showed it against guys like Max, Josh Emmett, and even Bryce Mitchell. But let me tell you something, while he's good, he's still vulnerable to being taken down. We've seen Bryce get him down in the first round and hold him there for an entire minute. So if someone as one-dimensional as Bryce Mitchell can do that, just imagine what other matchups can look like Aljo, who's an expert at taking your back, or Evloev, who can control you the entire fight, or even the submission threat from Diego Lopez. That's the thing. There are fun matchups out there, but we tend to think that Topuria is unbeatable because he has that unstoppable aura right now. I think we should pump the brakes for now, mainly because Topuria hasn't really been tested yet. Sure, he beat two of the greatest featherweights of all time, but they're not grapplers. Alex can wrestle, but he doesn't pose a submission threat, which is why the grappling style matchup with someone else would make it more interesting for Topuria. Honestly, I believe he can become even a bigger star if he manages to clear out the entire division and then go up. And let's not forget Islam's side of things. Why would he even take this fight? Even if he wins, people are probably going to criticize him for not defending against a real lightweight. We saw the same talk after he beat Volk, and beating Topuria likely wouldn't change that narrative. Islam has way more to lose than he has to gain here. Even if he wins, he might not get the credit that he deserves because people will say, oh, you just beat another featherweight. On top of that, Islam has unfinished business in his own division. There are legit contenders like Arman Tsarukyan who deserve their title shot. If he fights and beats someone like Arman, it's a way better look for him as the lightweight champ. And after handling business there, maybe he should be moving up to welterweight, testing himself against a new set of challengers at 170. At that point, Islam will hold the record for the most title defenses in UFC lightweight history with 4 title defenses. Looking at the division, I don't see many serious threats left for him. He already beat fighters like Charles, and while Justin Gaethje could be exciting, I think he would be an easier matchup for Islam. Max Holloway would be interesting as well, but I think Islam beats him too. Now Chandler can give him a challenge, but again, I still favor Islam. Moving up to 170 would bring some fun matchups. He won't fight Bilal though. Bilal said he'll move up instead of facing Islam, but fighting someone like Shavkat, Usman, or even JDM would be crazy, and I like to imagine that Islam will take those fights over another featherweight fight. Honestly, if I were in his shoes, I'd probably do the same thing. So yeah, while Topuria versus Makhachev sounds awesome, it just doesn't add up right now. Let these guys build their legacy in their own division, and maybe down the line, when the timing is perfect, we can get that super fight. Until then, Topuria should just keep proving himself at featherweight, and Islam should just focus on the killers waiting for him at the lightweight division before he considers moving up to welterweight. You're probably wondering how a hypothetical matchup between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria will play out. This one's got all the ingredients for a classic striker versus grappler showdown, but each fighter has a unique skills that could really shake things up. For starters, you can't just stand and trade with Topuria. He's too dangerous, especially in close quarters. Islam, though, is an underrated counter striker, so if he keeps up his distance and works from the outside, he might catch Topuria off guard. Islam's countering punching often goes overlooked, and that could be a real advantage for him in this fight, because Topuria does have tendencies to overextend in his exchanges, especially when he gets too comfortable. We've seen fighters like Max Holloway slip in and slip out of him. Topuria's a tank though. He'll eat those shots and keep moving forward like he doesn't feel anything. He's always got that relentless approach where he's always looking to knock you out, and it works well for him so far. It's almost like he gets 9 lives because he rarely shows any signs of slowing down, no matter how much he gets hit. There is the fact that Alex Volkanovski managed to hurt Islam in their first fight, and Volk isn't even known for his knockout power. If Topuria can connect in a similar way, especially with his accuracy, it could be lights out for Islam. People tend to think that Topuria's power is his main weapon, but honestly it's his accuracy. It's just as deadly. That precision is why he's a knockout threat against almost anyone he faces. Another thing to consider is Islam's cardio. We've seen him fade a bit in longer fights, like when he faced Dustin Poirier and even against Alex Volkanovski the first time. Meanwhile, Topuria has shown that he can keep up a good pace like he did in his fight with Josh Emmett. He doesn't usually go for the 5 rounds, but when he does, he holds up pretty well. Now, if Islam can take his takedowns when Topuria is moving forward, he could get him to the mat. Islam's not necessarily dominant in open space control, but he's shown that he can get those perfect takedowns when fighters come at him, just like what he did with Volk. If he can keep Topuria down, he's got a chance to grind out a win, but I don't think it would be that easy to submit Topuria. Ilia's ground game is solid, and I bet Islam would be more focused on holding him down than finishing him off. However, I would say the idea here is that Ilia Topuria might struggle against an elite grappler, especially when he's up against the cage. He's been shown some weakness in that area before with guys like Zell and Damon Jackson. They both managed to pin him to the fence, and they're not exactly known for top level wrestling. So if Topuria were to face someone like Islam Makhachev, who's a beast at controlling people against the cage, it could be a rough night for him. That's Islam's bread and butter right there, so he's likely to exploit that weakness. So I don't know, man, I think it's really pretty 50-50 when you really think about it. That's why a lot of people want to see this matchup, and don't get me wrong, I want to see it too, but right now it doesn't make sense for either fighter. It doesn't add too much to Islam's legacy, and Topuria hasn't even cleared out his own division yet. However, if I had to choose, if I'm forced to pick a winner, I'd lean toward Islam barely taking a split decision over Topuria. In my opinion, Islam is the pound for pound best fighter in the world, and I think he would have a game plan to survive Topuria and edge out 3 rounds to 2. That's just my opinion though. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.